when we think about like startups and founders, especially ones that are raising VC money, what is it like? What's the biggest blind spot they have around product?
Two things. One, they think everybody wants a product.
Yep.
Regardless of age, geography, is there a problem at all, and so on. And the second thing is, which I'm sure you hear often, every time a pitch doesn't go well, the usual response is, well, the investor didn't get us. They don't understand, we'll just talk to us. So that goes into, as founders, and I've been one more than once, we definitely fall in love with our product. And sometimes we don't allow reality to confuse us. And sometimes having somebody external, we help reality
get through.
Yeah, a little bit,
Yeah, I'm always asking this question, like, how can we reduce the time that it takes to get credible market evidence that we're on the right track? Like, how can we learn this faster and cheaper? Do you have any go-to methods or tricks to answer that question well? Jonathan, welcome to Product Growth Stories. So happy to have you here. So Jonathan is the CEO of Product Savvy Consulting. And man, you have done a lot of really cool things in your career. I'd love to dive into some of the lessons you've learned. So what led you to start Product Savvy Consulting in the first place?
Okay, so Jean-Michel, first of all, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Definitely appreciate that. So thank you for your time. The story of Product Savvy is interesting. It starts with my, early career days, if you will, where I really worked with startups pretty much for the entire time. Did everything you can imagine, from being a software developer to CTO, VP of product, and everything in between. I always like to say in 2003, I moved to the dark side. I got an MBA from Northwestern, and that kind of changed a little bit the way I was thinking. And so when I was looking at my career, I realized that startups have many reasons to fail.
Yeah.
Right. No argument on that. If they don't have a good VP product or a good product lead in general, their chances to fail are even higher. Now, what happens is that many times one of the founders become the VP product or any other executive position, and sometimes only just because they're a founder and the title sounds cool. And so with that understanding, I started Product Savvy and essentially focusing on what we call leadership as a service. We come into startups, typically startups that raise $3 to $10 million, and become their VP. We become their chief product officer. We become their CTO. We become their VP of engineering. The title doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as we kind of sit at the top of the product pyramid and work with the founders hand in hand.
Makes sense. So it's a bit like, is this different from, say, interim man? I mean, I suppose it's very focused on product.
So today there are two new words. One is interim and the other one is fractional.
Yeah.
When I started Product Savvy almost 20 years ago, these words didn't exist. So we call it leadership as a service. And it is indeed fractional because we usually don't take more than 40% capacity. But our relationships are very long in nature. Typically, customers stay with us for from 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Because of this very fundamental position. Right?
That's why you're definitely not interim. Right? Interim means we're planning to fire this guy as soon as we can. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. No.
So when we think about like startups and founders, especially ones that are raising VC money, what is it like? What's the biggest blind spot they have around product?
Two things. One, they think everybody wants a product.
Yeah.
Regardless of age, geography, is there a problem at all, and so on. And the second thing is, which I'm sure you hear often, every time a pitch doesn't go well, the usual response is, well, the investor didn't get us. They don't understand, we'll just talk to us. So that goes into, as founders, and I've been one more than once, we definitely fall in love with our product. And sometimes we don't allow reality to confuse us. And sometimes having somebody external, we help reality
get through.
Yeah, a little bit,
Yeah. So you would say the biggest blind spot is something around just being so in love with the idea, your baby basically, that you're not getting, I mean, the way you described it made me think of you're not getting market feedback or you're not hearing it when things aren't going the way that you want. You can find a way to explain it away.
And it's interesting because, again, you talk to an investor and they ask you, so how many users you have? And the answer is, well, and people start, tap dancing. Or, they would ask you, what is your product market fit? And again, people tap dance because they don't really have that. And this is really a challenge because the understanding that product market fit, listening to the user, understanding how to position the product even against existing competition are the challenges that we use.
Yeah. And, Yeah, I'm imagining that so many of the problems that you would solve as a product person, they have a nice overlap in the little Venn diagram with marketing. So you were saying, like, imagining that everyone has the problem, to me also sounds like, is this true? It's a little bit not focusing enough on one specific segment or ideal customer or niche or however you want to say it. It's this idea like, oh, it's going to be the biggest, everyone.
Everyone's going to use it.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, well, so is my mom a customer? They go, no, of course not. We're like, well, then it's not everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Or we're building a SaaS platform they're using, buzzwords are great, right? We are AI-powered SaaS platform.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean? Or what problem are you solving? And really, actually, I'll tell you a quick story to address that. Usually when we come in, we're being brought in either by the CEO, one of the founders, or, the VC that invested. And 90% of the time, the complaint is, the goddamn developers are building stuff nobody wants.
Whose complaint is that?
The founders of
the
the management team. Right?
Yeah.
So that would be one. The second one would be, well, they promised us something 2 weeks ago, and then 3 months later, they're still asking for 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks is 2 weeks. This is
exactly
yeah.
Every 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
So we come in and we say, well, one, it's never the fault of the developers. Two, it's always the fault of the leadership. And then we give them a little extra. We ask them 4 questions. What is the market you're addressing? What is the problem? Who's your user? And what is your unique value proposition?
Yeah.
And we ask the founders to answer separately.
Keep them in separate rooms. They can't talk.
Yeah,
bright lights.
How often do you think we got the same answer from
Maybe never. It's got to be never. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love it. This reminds me of something in business, which is terrible truth, which is that the most unsexy things are always the most important. Like if it was cool, then it would have to be new and like unproven. And it's always like these super fundamentals are the hardest bits. Do you find it to be that way?
100%. And the fact that, again, those 4 questions, the CEO, the CTO, and the VP sales cannot agree on them, we always tell them, well, if you don't agree on that, and you're the founding team, if you've been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah. How are the developers going to manage?
Yeah, exactly. What do you want from the developers? Because, if you're the CEO, you kind of tell them, everybody to the right. Everybody goes to the right.
Yeah.
Then the VP sales comes in and goes, everybody to the left. Everybody goes to the left. And you never have a product this way.
Yeah. And I'm curious, do you ever coach on defining the MVP? Because at least in my experience in startups, there's a big, it's fun to build stuff and no one can ever tell you're doing the wrong thing, and you're thinking product-led growth, so it's got to be awesome, but it's very expensive and it's not generating revenue on the other side. How do you help people define, like, what's the minimum thing that's going to tell us that we're on the right track?
So this is an excellent question. So again, we do this sometimes for companies that have been around for 3 years.
Yeah.
Because when we go with these 4 questions and, we say, okay, so we don't have an agreement, let's agree on that. Once we agree, we start putting together what we think, we being the collective, we, the founders and us, what should be the product. And then we look at what we have and there's always a gap. So analyzing that gap is 1. 2, it's really about defining the requirements from essentially 3 different points of view. 1, of course, the value to the user or the customer. The second one is the effort it's going to take to do this. And the third one is the confidence of the team to deliver it based on that effort estimate.
RICE. I'm hearing RICE. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, those 3 are very important. And most of the time, it solves the problem. And one of the things we always tell people, especially product managers, when we do the product management, when you come in and you think that the feature is very important to a customer, bring in what we call market evidence. Tell me something like, hey, Jonathan, I spoke to 5 potential customers or 5 existing customers, and they really need this feature. It's much more powerful than me coming in and starting to scream, I want this feature because I took a shower this morning and it's a great idea. Yeah. So that's really important. And that goes back to what you said. You have to listen to the good product managers do that, and they can substantiate their belief or their gut feel into, feature 1 is important, feature 3 not so much. And then bringing in the development team in with the other 2 components, right? You think it's going to take you 2 weeks? Yes. How confident are you? Well, 10% confident. Okay, then it's not 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay, now I've got a harder one. This is a personal question I'm always asking, And maybe I'd love to hear how you approach this. I'm always asking this question, like, how can we reduce the time that it takes to get credible market evidence that we're on the right track? Like, how can we learn this faster and cheaper? Do you have any go-to methods or tricks to answer that question well?
My only answer to that is boots on the ground and talk to people. It's really, I mean, two tricks I'm going to tell you. Please don't tell anyone else. Okay?
It's a podcast, you know. Yeah, tell it.
Well, I'll tell you anyway. So one of the things I like to do is attend show. When you attend a show and you have your competitors, go to your competitors and ask them questions, but they will never answer otherwise. The thing is, when people are at a show, they're in presentation mode. You can ask questions like, so what are the top features you're working on?
Yeah.
How much money do you have in the bank? They will actually, it's amazing, they will most
Yes.
likely.
I know this. Yeah, it's weird. You just ask people
It
and they
is.
will tell you. Yeah, I've experienced that too
and-
at trade shows. Yeah.
Right, and if you would call your competitor and say, hey, how much money you have in
Yeah.
the bank, you'd be like, dude, are you crazy?
Yeah.
They will never answer that question. So this is one. Go to trade shows. If you see competitors, talk to them. You can ask them, who are your customers? You can ask them, who are you trying to sell to? These are the potential customers. And again, often they will tell you. And the other thing, go to conferences where your clients or your potential clients would be. So if you are in healthcare, then go to HIMSS. If you are in, I don't know, cyber, then of course Black Hat or things like that, right?
Yeah.
So because then you have high density of potential customers in a very small geographical location, you can talk to all of them. My thing is, don't guide them in your questions and try and always ask why. You know, one of the best quotes I like is from Henry Ford. I'm sure you know this one. That if he would ask his potential customer what they want, is they want a faster horse, right?
Right. Yeah. This reminds me of the mom test. It was like a great book on this. Which basically just never fits your product when you're trying to figure out. Yeah. Love it. I love it. Yeah. There's nothing like conversations. Like just, it's like the best high quality information you can get as long as it's with the right person. Love it. So I'm curious, like I'm imagining, you know, you find a lot of clients through your network, but like, how do you get the word out that, you know, Product Savvy exists? Do you do conferences or is it mainly through word of mouth? Like, how are you finding people? Cause it's harder to catch the attention of folks that just raised money. They get a lot of attention.
Definitely. So first we go to the next tranche. We work with people who raise 3 to 10. Because if you just raise money, there are two reasons for you not to work with us. One, you didn't feel the pain yet. So you still think that you know what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, by the way, chances are you don't. You need to burn through $2-3 million to realize the pain. And the second is, if you're on your first raise, you probably won't have the budget to work with us. But if you're in the 3 to 10 million range, you raise $3, $5, $10 million. One, you feel the pain because usually you would come to us after you burn 60% of it. So you know the pain. We don't need to tell you that you don't know how to manage R&D because you know that we don't need to tell you that you can't release an MVP on time because you didn't. So it's much easier to focus on what they need.
Problem aware,
exactly right. Feel the pain. So that's that.
Yeah.
And now, after almost 20 years, then we have quite a good reputation, if you will, especially in the, the DMV area or, between New York and maybe North. So people are now coming to us, or customers who used to work with us would refer people to us.
That's great. Yeah.
But at the early days today, we always do trade shows but we also like to work with accelerators.
Oh yeah.
And even though everyone in that accelerator is way too early by definition, we had quite a few customers who came back to us 2-3 years after the accelerator saying, hey,
I remember Jonathan.
Exactly right. Or you guys came in, you gave us a presentation. And one of the things we were doing with accelerators, which was unique, we would provide a 1 week of product bootcamp out of the curriculum of the accelerator. So that gave us a lot of face time with the customers, potential customers rather.
Yep.
And imprinted us in their brain. So, 3-5 years later, they'd be like, hey, we met Jonathan, or we met Evan, or we met Andy.
This is a type of long-term marketing plan that is hard to sell people on. It's effective, but can you imagine trying to pitch that to a founder? Look, I have this plan. It's going to take 3 years, but it's amazing.
Well, I call it seeding for the obvious reasons, right?
Yeah.
But startups, everything has to happen tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So it's a problem.
One thing struck me from what you're describing, talking about, how people on their second raise become more problem aware. And it's It's a little bit like it takes a few $1 million to learn this lesson, which is really expensive lesson. Yeah.
But if you think about that, so, my career started almost 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, 1995, 96, we could say, well, we really have no idea what we're doing. There were no startups before us. This is just the beginning of the dot-com era. I'm sure you remember. We had an excuse why we don't know what we're doing, right? Now we're 30 years in. How many books are written about startups and how to manage startups?
I have a pile of them over there. Yeah.
I can add another one because I put one out a year ago as well.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So all these books, and every time we go into a meeting, I'm like, yep, I spoke about that 30 years ago. Exactly the same stuff.
Yeah. It hasn't gotten through to the generally known things yet. Yeah.
Which is quite amazing.
And so as, there's so much changing right now, especially in marketing and go-to-market. I mean, there's a lot of buzz around AI. Apparently, you have to have AI in your product now to get funding, is what I hear from a lot of people. And I'm curious, how do you think this practically changes, product management for startups?
Well, first of all, it makes our work a little bit easier because a lot of the work we did before manually, we can now accelerate with AI help.
Mm-hmm.
That from the product management standpoint. But what happens on the startup side is that sometimes you would hear a startup say something like, we are an AI firm that does blah, blah, blah. And we tell them, you're not an AI firm because you're not building an LLM. You're not creating. You are maybe AI enhanced, AI powered. You're using AI to do something, but you're not, and we tell them that you're not an AI company. And what I think now, what happens is that everybody and his sister that opens a startup, they are an AI company, even if they're flipping burgers. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they
Patty's
actually
AI.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like back in the days, if you remember, of NFT or blockchain, every company was really an NFT company. Why? What was that? So we tell our clients, at least, an AI is a tool. It's no different than Java used to be 25 years ago. When you position yourself to the user, you have to talk in their language so they understand why it's good for them. So AI is a tool. It saves time. It may, it has a lot of great benefits, but nobody will invest in a company which ends up being another chat overlay over ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's not fundamentally any different. It's just a wrapper, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So yours is green and mine is blue. Okay. Great.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't believe it's going to keep working. I think it's working right now. If a lot of people are finding that if they AI wash their stuff, that they're getting a little bit more response from the market, but that it's going to stop working. Eventually, we're all going to figure out it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's like the NFT days. It's exactly the same. I remember going to trade shows, and literally almost every company would be like, we're an NFT doing this, NFT doing that. And I always ask them, why? Who needs that?
Yeah.
And the answer was, well, you don't understand. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
It's reminding me, I was just randomly thinking of going to an Ethereum conference thing, and it was like, we're going to use the blockchain to see if people paid their parking. And it's like, that's very expensive solution to this non-problem, It seems very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or, the NFT days, it's going to be a members club. I'm like, but why NFT? There are so many simpler solutions.
Yeah.
But it was sexy, and people like to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're on now. Yeah.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, what would be your number one advice to entrepreneurs here in 2025 so they don't have to burn $5 million to learn those lessons? What would be the one tip you would give?
The first hire should be a product. And I'm not saying that because we're a product consulting firm. I always give the example of the early days of, the big clipper ships, right? You would have the CEO who was the captain, but they always had the navigator. And the minute they left port, the navigator was the most important person on the ship because that was the person who kept everybody alive, hitting, for the port of calls they were supposed to be hitting and not getting lost. The same happens in a company. You need that navigator. And to me, that navigator is that VP product, or again, title doesn't matter, is the product guy or the product person, because they eventually navigate the company.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody who doesn't know what he or she are doing, or if the CEO decides, well, I'm going to be the VP product because I know best and it's my idea, chances of success are going down significantly. So that's my number one. And don't hire, almost as important, don't hire developers until you have your MVP defined and development ready. Because what happens is, and I see this often, people go to me first time, and they
Yeah.
go, oh, how many developers do I need? And I tell them, well, you need 0 because you don't know what you're building.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Oh, thank you so much, Jonathan. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Jean-Michel. And hey, again, thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed the
Absolutely.
conversation.
So anybody who watches this show and they realize that they want to shortcut, burning millions of dollars before getting a good product fit, how do they contact you? What's the best way to find you?
Just go to productsavvy.com and then you can contact us, or just do info@productsavvy.com and email me. Product Savvy, Savvy is with 2 V's. Really simple.
Perfect. Thank you.